kind of a grey day, but actually really warm. A few changes have taken place. It was a wee bit windy. Hope that doesn't interfere with the sound. We'll do a voiceover if we have to. But yeah, a few changes have taken place over the last wee while. We got rid of our wildflower meadow, which is here in the ruin. So now looking really smart. Pond's still looking pretty muggy, but there we go. So we spent quite a bit of time tidying that area up. I give it a couple of strims over a couple of days just to take the tops down, and then eventually could give it a really short cut, so that's good. I'm going to turn you around for this because it's exciting. So compost bins have gone. There were 3 bays of compost here, and this is a repurposed greenhouse. Yes, it's our repurposed greenhouse. We'll come round to that in a minute. This is going to be a winter coop set up for our caravan chickens. So our little, well, these guys here. So it's 2 leg bars and a cuckoo moran, Misty, Phoebe and Pip. They live in the caravan and they range around the garden. They're currently working very hard on a patch I just didn't have time to weed in at the back of the fruit bushes. So they're doing really well. But yeah, come winter, I couldn't really imagine spending hours traipsing in 2 foot of snow, dragging the caravan around and trying to move the fencing. So this is going to be a temporary arrangement just for the winter months when the weather's really bad. It's closed in on one side, the back part is anyway, closing on this side, and then we've just got a tarp over the top here. It's going to be fully enclosed with wire, so they should be perfectly safe in there. And they'll tear up the ground, but as I say, that bit was all under a compost bin anyway, so they'll tear it up, and then when we're done with it I will put them back into the caravan and they can go ranging around the garden again in the spring, and I'll lay all that to fresh grass probably. So yeah, that's a bit of a development. Worked quite hard on that. We've got it as stable as we can. We're using tree stakes, which is they're pretty firm. So there's 4 of them, and then it's got rebar pegs, all sorts of other methods to try and not let it blow away in the winter. Now at the end of the season, the garden's delivering nothing. But we did have some good stuff this year. Highlights were probably, we had loads of lovely carrots. In fact, we had loads of carrots. We had loads of great potatoes were really good this year. Strawberries were really good this year. We had mange too. The highlight of my growing season, I think, unexpectedly, because I'm not a huge fan of courgette, are these brilliant 8-ball courgettes. I've got a great recipe off the internet for zucchini fritters. So yeah, courgette fritters, they were brilliant with parmesan. Yeah, using our own eggs as well for that. They were great. So yeah, that was a highlight unexpectedly. So that's good. We've had French beans. Kale's been terrible. Cauliflower just didn't happen. Cabbage, terrible. I didn't get them covered in time, and they were absolutely covered in caterpillars and eggs, and it just was a disaster. So it all went to the chickens. So yeah, garden, mixed results this year, but it's looking wild now. It's all right though. We've still got lots of lovely flowers, and yeah, it's fine. It just needs a good tidy up, and we'll try again next year. So the wee chickens in their caravan, they were on that space there. They were on that space previously. So they have basically cleared out these raised beds. These raised beds were an epic fail. They were made from free pallets, so that's the only consolation. They just do not get enough sun under here, and although I tried to grow crops that would cope well in shade, they just did really not well at all. So these will go, but in the meantime I let the wee chickens clear them out and dust bathe in them and do what they wanted, so that's good. Everything else here, this Woody, is waiting to go out the gate. So this here was also, well, going back a couple of weeks here, this was probably 5-6 foot with burdock. It was absolutely filled, and the wee chickens were on here for 3 days, and they've done a marvellous job. So they cleared all that off. As a result, though, we are looking a bit patchy of grass. I have re-sown here, and we did have a burn pile here which has totally destroyed this section of grass, but not too worried about that. I think it'll come back, it'll be fine, and in the meantime I didn't have to weed that myself, so I'm very pleased with my wee chickens for that. Okay, so here they are. This is our little pallet woodshed. We have started. I think it might take us a while, but they're going to get chopped up into kind of foot-long pieces, so they'll fit in our wood burner and they'll get put in there. Then we've got our 3 compost bays here. I'm not great at composting. I haven't really mastered the art, but I'm going to just keep giving it a go. They're kind of compost bins with a view. And then in this corner we have our natural composting area. So this is all kind of grass cuttings, twigs, branches, bits and bobs, stuff that will compost over time, but I don't want to put onto the actual compost pile. So that is that there. So yeah, I think a good use of space here. This is the mound over here. This is a kind of, I would like to describe that as a wildflower meadow, and it kind of was. It had its time and its place. Looking like it needs a good tidy out now, though. Of course, everything's going over, so it's to be expected. So here's the caravan. Right, Misty? Oh, we've got a plane up there somewhere, not sure where. We'll let it pass. Okay, so these 2 leg bars, Phoebe and Pip, they've got a space here, which is what they're weeding for me. The fruit bushes have had their mulch, but we haven't spread it yet. We've got 2 white currant bushes, 2 red currant bushes, and we've got about 10 probably black currant bushes, and then that's the gooseberry at the back there. We got 20 kilos of gooseberries this year, so I've actually spent this morning making some chutney. Hopefully that'll be okay. So yeah, fruit bush area. I do enjoy it when real people talk about their epic fails. So here's our number 1 epic fail, and we have had a few. This is number 1, the sun deck. So the key here when you're building a sun deck in the Scottish Highlands is probably, well, there's probably 2 rules. Don't build it in the winter, and don't build it under an enormous tree. So yeah, the sun deck was a fail. So I think what we'll do with the sun deck, because obviously I can't do a lot about these enormous trees, so I think what we'll do here is we'll probably use this for winter kayak storage. We've got 2 kayaks, and it's obviously down at the back of the garden, so it's probably safer than having it up at the front by the road. So we'll probably put on some metal racks and chain them onto that, and they can it'll just keep them up off the ground, and we'll put a bag over them or something. This bit here is where the wall of mint usually is. We've actually got a beautiful buddleia which has made a very late appearance, and it's looking amazing. So this looked like it was dead in April, May. I think it's a bit late, but it's looking great now. So the greenhouse was here. We had the greenhouse for 2 years, for 2 growing seasons, and unfortunately there are issues with having a greenhouse here in this particular location. So overnight, from spring going into early summer, overnight it can be still as low as sort of 4 or 5 degrees. So if you've got your tomato seedlings and your pepper seedlings in the house, you don't want to be just chucking them out in the greenhouse at sort of 3, 4, 5 degrees. So I have to wait for the temperature overnight to be more of a regular 10 degrees. And that this year took into June. So by that time, the tomato seedlings are pretty leggy. They were pretty feeble, to be fair. And then when I put them out into the greenhouse, well, they were small. I put them out into the greenhouse. It was still very cool overnight, and then we went into a really hot spell. So the greenhouse was getting up sometimes with all the doors and the windows open and everything, was getting up to 35 degrees centigrade, and at that point my tomatoes and my chilies just went into shock. So this happened last year as well. They don't have time to ripen, so even though they were putting on a lot of fruit, although there was some blossom drop due to the high temperatures, they just weren't strong enough to survive that difference in temperature, and they didn't have long enough to ripen, so the fruit was all green. So this year I just lost the will with it really, and I stripped them all out, took off all the green tomatoes. We did have some that were ripening, so I brought them in and they have since ripened, and they were delicious. But all the rest are green and need to be made into a chutney or something. It's just a waste, and this is a brilliant spot, hence why we put a greenhouse here. It's a brilliant spot because it's a sun trap. You know, if there is sun here, this is where it lands for most of the day. Not where the deck was built, which is just along a wee bit because it's under the tree. So we felt like plan B from greenhouse was probably to have a seating area here, so that's what we've done. So this now will become a seating area. So because we already had the membrane, we had the greenhouse base down there. So what we'll do now, laid more sand under here, another layer of membrane, and then we'll fill that with pea gravel, so very small gravel. We're actually going to tuck some membrane up into there because that's where the mint still comes back. And then we'll fill that with pea gravel and put our seating over there with maybe a wee fire pit. And it just makes better sense because that stone wall soaks up the heat from the sun all day long. So the deck, which was further down there, is clearly under that tree. This is the best spot for a seating area, so that's the plan. Activity. They smell good. Okay, so the other problem we had this year, red mite. This has never happened to us before. And I should have known. I guess when we built the old chicken coop, which I was very proud of actually, it was the first proper thing we'd built. I never really thought about red mite. I just thought, well, I'll keep it clean, it'll be fine. But because we had that really hot spell early spring, it just got away with me. And I think we probably had the problem before, but I just didn't know to look for it. So when I suddenly became aware that we had a red mite issue, my first instinct was just burn it, burn the lot. So for a week or 2 weeks, I really tried to get on top of it. I was using tons of diatomaceous earth. I was dusting the birds. I was giving them the stuff you put in the water to try to deter them. I was putting garlic in the food. I mean, I tried everything I could, and it didn't go away. And I have read now that if you have red mite, it's really hard to get rid of. So I took a rather impulsive decision to burn the hen house, and in fact what we did do was we dismantled it and we disposed of it safely at the recycling centre. Then they had to have somewhere to live, so we had to go and buy something, again quite impulsive. We're just going to get them into something that's clean. So we dusted them all, we bought a plastic shed, we stuck them in it. The plan is now to rebuild a hen house which is much better equipped to deal with the red mite issue, because it will come again. It comes again. Once you have them, it will keep coming again, like I said. So now we have a new shed arrangement. I built them a roosting ladder, which is scoured daily in the morning for red mite. And now I do just find the odd mite. Chickens are looking much healthier, and they have a dedicated sand dust bath now. I mean, they always dust bath in here anyway, because it's just kind of dust in here now. But they've got a sand, it's a sort of 50-50 sand and soil, and with diatomaceous earth in it, so hopefully that will help keep the mites at bay. So it's much better. It's a bit of a shame, but sometimes you have to cut your losses and just say, look, that was a mistake. I see now in the design of that old hen house where I made so many mistakes, especially when dismantling it, how many bits of wood, it was very much cobbled together, and of course these are all the places that the red mites want to hide. So there you go, put that one down to experience. This is the new setup. So it's a 6x4 plastic shed. Like I say, it's got a ladder in it, and I bought one of these plastic pet carriers, which became the nest box. They're all looking a lot happier now. The 3 new ones have settled in really well. So we've got Josie there, who's finally growing a comb, and we've got Martha here. She's a highline. Josie, I should have said, she's a Rhode Island Red, sorry. And then this is Meredith over here, who is a Sussex Light. These well summer girls have been with us since the beginning. This is Bluebell, she's our oldest hen. And Rusty, he's looking a bit scraggly. I suspect he might be coming into a molt. And then we've got Coco under there. She is a Silver Sussex. I think she's got a cold at the moment because she keeps sneezing. With that, where she's playing the trumpet. So yeah, this is a lot better. It's a lot easier to keep clean, and I am much happier overall with this arrangement. It does mean no omelette auto door, which is disappointing, but at least me coming out first thing in the morning and coming out here last thing at night, I can keep a good eye on everything, make sure everyone's okay. So that's where our old hen house used to be. A bit of a shame, but like I said, we know better now.